Welcome into the GoVols247 Podcast. I am Patrick Brown. I am joined by Ryan Callahan. We are sitting in the Florida coaches booth at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, where on Saturday night, Tennessee put an end to a long, frustrating, heartbreaking, humiliating losing streak here at Florida with a 31-11 win. And I don't know that it was even that close, Ryan. It was 31-0 at halftime. We will talk about this game, what it means for Tennessee. We are live streaming this. It is about 1:18 in the morning. So if you're on the live stream, we appreciate you staying up late, you night owls. If you're listening to this podcast on Sunday, driving back from Gainesville or whatever you're doing, we appreciate you and hope you will go check out the site and all the coverage we have from this big win for Tennessee. Big win for Josh Heupel. Really good celebrations down there at the end. And SEC road wins are hard. Tennessee has had a lot of tough days in this one. So I know some people were not thrilled about the second half, but I mean, you don't need to be complaining about 20-point road wins in the SEC in this league. And so, Ryan, what's your biggest takeaway? Obviously, first of all, I picked Florida. I got to see it before I pick it mode. And Tennessee made me eat my words. So, but Ryan, what was your biggest thought on this? A pretty big night. You wish it had been bigger. Tennessee was maybe inching closer to the playoff spot, but that's not the case. But I don't know that should take away from this accomplishment.
Yeah, it definitely shouldn't. And like you said, any 20-point road win in the SEC is pretty impressive. Now, this is a Florida team that's 3-8, 2-6 in the SEC. Not much to play for, not much motivation. I was impressed. The Swamp was as fired up as it was tonight going into this game. I wasn't sure what kind of environment to expect, but night game here, and it was a pretty tough place. And Tennessee, to its credit, came in here and sucked the air out of the place by the middle of the second quarter, if not sooner. So it was a pretty dominant performance. You kind of had a feeling once it's like when Tennessee beat Alabama back in 1995 after not being Alabama for a lot of years. When you
aging yourself there,
yeah, I am. But when you end a streak like that, it almost it's such a big hill to climb that once you do it, you just end up beating the crap out of them because it's just it's like taking out all this frustration on them all at once, or it's you're after playing not so well against a team for years or making key mistakes, you're just gonna completely eliminate the mistakes and play really well or whatever. So you kind of had a feeling when they got a win like this, it was not going to be some dramatic, cathartic moment that it was just going to be this one-sided game.
It was all cathartic. That's what it was.
So it was, a pretty impressive showing. And I thought Tennessee was really good. This was not just about Florida being uninspired or anything like that. I think Tennessee was sharp from the get-go and came out and scored on its first 4 possessions and just put their foot on their throat, never really took the foot off the gas until the second half when the game was out of reach. I guess you could argue they did right before halftime when they were content to settle for a field goal to go up 31-0, but that might have been Josh Heupel remembering the Alabama game a bit much, where a key turnover, and that's the exact kind of thing this series has been built on.
Oklahoma game too.
Yeah. A key turnover that right before the half that gives them a touchdown or something, and suddenly it could be a game. So I can't really fault him for that approach there, but I think overall you can be pretty impressed with Tennessee's performance and just the offensive efficiency, and the defense for the second game in a row. They've given up a combined 20 points in the last 2 games, which not against great teams, but hey, they allowed 17 to East Tennessee State in game 2, so they've clearly made some strides, I think, over the past few weeks.
Yeah, it all was cathartic. Tennessee hadn't won down here since 2003. We don't need to go through each of the ones, but
I was here for that one if I want to date myself again.
I was alive for it, but I have not covered or been to a game out here where Tennessee has won.
To make all the longtime fans out there feel really old, we asked David Hobbs about that after the game, and he was like, the reporter who asked the question was like, I don't know if you were alive then. He said 2004. So he was not alive the last time Tennessee won down here, and most of Tennessee's players were not.
Yeah, and my wife texted me during the first half and was like, is Tennessee this good or is Florida this bad? And I was like, well, Florida's not great. At that point, Florida in the last 3 weeks had Georgia down in the fourth quarter and was leading and going into the fourth quarter at Ole Miss. That's 2 playoff teams. Now, in between there, they got housed by Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a team that Josh Heupel said during the week, he said after the game too, this is a Florida team that had played close games throughout the season. But you could tell early on that this Tennessee team had an edge about it.
Yep.
That was pretty noticeable, and listening in some of the post game, this might have been their best week of practice, certainly of the season, possibly ever.
Yeah.
They came out here with intent. I think you saw that. Opening drive, they go right down the field to score. They get a 3 and out defensively, but to your point about streaks ending, I mean, Tennessee had stuff happen that doesn't normally happen in the
Yeah.
stadium. Florida's second play, Tennessee just busts, and they don't even cover the running back. They throw it to Jaden Baugh. Idris Freak with a poor attempt at a tackle. He shakes Arion Carter down the field. It's like a 40-yard game, but it's called back because of a holding penalty.
That's a great point. Yeah, that did not feel like a Tennessee-Florida play.
That did not. There was a false start they missed. I think it might have been on third down before maybe Tennessee's third touchdown early in the second quarter. And then after the fourth down stop, that sack fumble where Joey Aguilar gets hit from behind and gets on the ball, you're like, we're all looking at each other like that's not happening. Tennessee's not gotten that kind of play.
And then to follow that up with a 52-yard run to the 1 yard line.
On 3rd and 17. Yeah, Florida's kicker, who's 30. They flashed up a graphic. He was 38 of 40 inside of 40 yards, misses from 38. I mean, it's just it's kind of all of the past 22 years and 10 games of heartbreak, humiliation, all these bad memories just come undone in this night. So, but yeah, Tennessee was just you could just tell they played with intent. They played sharp. I mean, even offensively, you saw them do some different things, some rollouts, some runouts. The inside handoff to Mike Matthews was a nice little wrinkle.
Mm-hmm.
And defensively, they were just really active. I thought Arion Carter was a standout. Just he looked like a guy that had rested for a couple weeks and obviously dealing with double turf toe. You've seen him play really limited, just in how well he can move, and he was out there making plays in space. Defensive line was doing what it needed to do, but Tennessee rushed us for 248 yards, and part of the reason they kind of toned it down in the second half, I don't think they got conservative. Florida it was too high safeties all night.
Yep.
They never got out of it, and so Tennessee was like, okay, we're just going to run it. And so they had 5 yards and a cloud of dust, hit a couple big ones. So, but yeah, you could just tell, and I think Holly Rowe mentioned it. They mentioned it after the game too. I think Josh Heupel mentioned on Monday. They showed like a video about this rivalry.
Yep.
Tennessee wasn't like not talking about the streak or anything like that. I think it probably motivated them, and it certainly sort of seemed to get them on edge, and they were on edge from the word go and took it to Florida.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting element of this in the transfer portal era. It's that I don't think if there was ever a concern about players kind of carrying the weight of a series like this, I don't think you feel it as much anymore because these players are in the program for, in some cases, just a year or two. And so they're not carrying as much of the emotional baggage, but yet you give them this motivation by telling them what the series history is. And it's kind of a perfect formula for going into a place like this and not having to dwell on the past, not having that, not many players have the memories from 2020 and 2021 of what this series was like when it was pretty one-sided. So, so now you've seen Tennessee win 3 of its last 4 games against Florida. They've turned this series around, and even with those 3 wins, they've won 4 times against Florida since 2005. It's really not been a competitive series for most of that stretch, but it's really started to turn since 2022. So, this is obviously a big weight off the shoulders for Tennessee fans, but I think you saw a team tonight that mostly had the motivation of being able to say they won on the road at a place like Florida where this hadn't been done in 22 years, but with very little of the baggage of having been through that. And that allowed this team to come down here and kind of play freely, but also play with some energy and some motivation.
Yeah, and the celebrations afterwards, you could tell more catharsis, right? Just release, just it wasn't quite the LSU takeover. A lot of, and it's probably one of the smaller Tennessee contingents that's probably ever come down here. But, I mean, this place was pretty juiced up before the game. I mean, this is their first home game in like a month, first game without Billy Napier. So, a celebratory mood. Campus was pretty packed walking in here. It still felt like a weird kind of vibe, though, because it's November. This series was, so many big top 5, top 10 games. And this one had Florida's 3-7 with an interim coach. Tennessee is 7-3 and not really in the playoff picture. They're ranked, not really in the playoff picture. They didn't even pick this game on game day, and Kirk Herbstreit called the game. If that tells you just sort of the low stakes. So a weird vibe, but that should not take away from what Tennessee did. And I think it was like you said, Ryan, these players, they wanted to end this streak. I think and they talked about that after the game too. So to go out there with the focus they had all week and prepare as well as they did, Josh Heupel said over and over again how proud he was of this team. So, and you look at how they did this. We'll start with the offense. They rushed for 248 yards. No Peyton Lewis. Wendell Moy was here. He dressed, did not play, and clearly was only available in an emergency situation because I think it was late in the first quarter when David Sanders went down. They didn't put Wendell Moy in at right guard and kick Jesse Perry out to right tackle. They put Bennett Warren in. So they go out there and rush like that. This is a run game that has had its ups and downs, where they only had 63 rushing yards against Oklahoma. So, really credit to those guys and credit to the running backs too. Deshaun Bishop, I thought he had some really good dirty runs where he was running through defenders. I think in the fourth and one that he barely got in the red zone, he was running through a defensive tackle's arms. And the play before that, he had to push the pile of 2 yards just to get it to 4th and 1. Star Thomas obviously had the big run on the outside zone. Dwan Morris, some interesting comments from Josh Heupel about him afterwards, saying that, kind of pressing patience for freshmen and their families. He said for Dwan and for our families, or for families in general. So interesting comments there. But they still had to sort of scrape to get Joey Aguilar to 200 yards at the end. I do think a bright spot was Ethan Davis, starting for Miles Kitzelman, made a real impact on the game. Catches the touchdown early on the first drive. So just really impressive stuff from Tennessee. And second half was what it was, but you were in such control that you didn't really need to get out second gear.
Right. It was credit Tennessee for sticking to the run game. They've not done that in some games, quite honestly. They've had some games where I felt they were too eager to throw the ball, knowing that's sort of the strength of this offense, and they were able to run pretty consistently. It wasn't always flashy. It wasn't 6-7 yards a carry, but they were able to consistently move the ball. Kept some drives alive with some tough runs. I thought Deshaun Bishop had some really good moments. Third and 3, he gets hit in the backfield and gets free, and Tennessee and gets to within a yard of the first down marker and keeps that within a manageable distance. And then on 4th down, he gets touched in the backfield again and keeps pushing. Florida thinks they've got to stop for a second, and he makes this push through the contact to get the first down. So some of the runs like that where he didn't gain a ton of yards, but I thought had some really nice efforts and really some hard-earned yards. So he had a really nice game, I thought. Star Thomas, obviously the big long touchdown run, but they just they were able to move it pretty consistently without Wendell Moy, which is, again, pretty impressive. And this offensive line had some struggles in recent weeks. So I thought a pretty impressive effort by them. And Aguilar took what the defense gave him, after back-to-back games with 2 interceptions, for him to come out and throw the ball the way he did, take good care of the ball on the road. Again, not surprised by this, but did not look rattled at all playing on the road. It had already done it a few times, obviously played at a tough environment at Alabama and some other places. So he did not didn't show any nerves or anything like that in this setting, and came in and was just in control from the start. They got Ethan Davis involved early and made him kind of a focal point of the game plan, it seemed like, in the passing game. And that was, I think, really good to see, because Tennessee's not incorporated the tight end enough, probably considering their talent at the position. They've got some guys that have the ability to make some plays in the passing game, and finally really took advantage of that in this game. So I thought just a nice game overall, and Tennessee kind of playing to its strengths while just also taking what Florida was giving them defensively and sticking to it.
Yeah, Joey Aguilar finishes 17 of 22, 204 yards, and the 1 touchdown to Ethan Davis. Deshaun Bishop had 116 yards, 2 touchdowns on 24 carries. Star Thomas, 9 for 71. Dwan Morris, 14 carries, 41 yards. I'm sure that's definitely more carries than he had all season.
Yeah.
Braylon Staley had 1 catch.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah, Brazel 4 for 53. Ethan Davis was the leading receiver with 5 catches for 72 yards. So, just the way Tennessee, they had a 6-minute touchdown drive in the first half. They ran out the last 8 minutes of the clock. We're right and trying to finish everything done. It's like better get to cracking, because this game is ending quickly.
It was like a 3-hour, 15-minute game or something like that.
Short by Tennessee standards, but. I think it's probably got to be gratifying for Josh Heupel, who sometimes bristles if you say certain things about his offense, and the fact that they were in such dominant ball control mode tonight and able to run out the clock. Some people will say, oh, it's too conservative and killer instinct and blah blah blah. I think it's a positive if you can have a 6-minute 12-play drive. If you can, they have a 99-yard drive. Was it last week?
Yeah,
against Mexico State. I mean. This offense can big play you. We saw that in Lexington, but they can also be methodical. Now, they haven't always been methodical. They've been, they've had mistakes and stuff like that, but I think only 4 penalties tonight. One of them was on Ethan Davis in the game, with the 10-second runoff. They didn't have to run another snap. And then they took a delay of game before a punt. So really disciplined football, and they've actually, I think, probably played, their penalty numbers have been down the last few games, but Offensively, just a really clean, efficient game. See here, they had 452 yards. I mean, pretty good balance, 248 rushing, 204 passing, 6.2 yards per play, 28 first downs. They held the ball only for 27 minutes.
Well, something's off on their time of possession numbers because they got Florida with 24 minutes. That doesn't add up.
That math ain't mathing. But yeah, I mean, just a really efficient night for Tennessee on offense.
Yeah, just and again, really impressive to do it that way. I thought this felt like the most, I don't know, natural flowing game plan and approach they've had offensively all season in some ways, because they didn't get the deep balls in the passing game, but they didn't seem to be focused on that at all from the start. And it seemed like they knew that was probably going to be the way they were defended. I think they've seen a few teams in a row now approach it that way and say, hey, you're going to beat us, 15 yards at a time. You're not going to get the Chris Brazzle deep balls and stuff like that. And they took what the defense gave them and played within themselves and were content to run the ball a lot. And, again, give Tennessee credit for doing that, because I think sometimes it is a tough thing as an offensive coordinator and an offensive-minded coach in Josh Heupel's case to not want to just kind of impose your will on a defense and just say, no, forget what you're doing. We're going to do what we do because that's our offense and that's what we do best. And sometimes Tennessee's done that this year, and that's why you have the interceptions to awaiting safety in the middle of the field sometimes, because you're throwing into the teeth of a defense that's set up to stop that exact thing. So I think they did some nice things in this game, and were, again, very in control and just knew what they wanted to do and what they needed to do to win this game. And it probably was it probably helped that you knew Florida's not a great team, not a high-powered offense, that if you just took care of the ball, didn't give them anything easy, that was probably going to give you a much better chance of winning this game.
Defensively, Ryan, we mentioned Arion Carter was a standout. I want to talk about the sequence early in the second quarter on the fourth down, because you get 2 3-and-outs early. You get the break that we talked about at the top with the long play being called back. You get off the field there in third and long. There's a pretty good 2-play sequence on second and third down on the second drive where Tyree West beats the right tackle for a tackle for loss on second down. That creates third and long. Ty Redmond had really good coverage on third down there. Then they finally give up a first down. Was it 21-0 at this point? Mm-hmm. And the 3rd and 8 play was interesting because they get Jaden Perlotti free on a blitz, and he forces DJ Lagway out of the pocket. And I think it was Farouk that came in and delivered a pretty big hit. They get him down a yard short. Then on the fourth down, they try to sneak it with the 240, 250-pound quarterback, and he goes nowhere. And what was impressive to me is that Tennessee brought in its third down package on the play before, because it was 3rd and 8. And that lineup tonight had Dominic Bailey and David Hobbs on the interior with Caleb Herring and Jordan Ross on the outside. And either side of the center, Dominic Bailey and Hobbs just get low and they win the leverage battle. Lagway doesn't go anywhere. And then you got T. Lander and Arion Carter, and I think Jalen McMurray was in on that play. So, to stop them there, that whole sequence, because then they go down and score. It was kind of 2022 LSU-ish.
Right.
Early in the second quarter, they get a 4th down stop. In that game, they go up top, Hendon Hooker to Jalen Hyatt, and that one made it 20-0. And can we put this road win up there with that one? Probably not that one. That one's probably the tops. Maybe Vanderbilt last year with clinching a playoff spot's probably up there in terms of just the Josh Heupel era road wins.
And they had to overcome a deficit in that game.
Right. So, I mean, the Vanderbilt game? Yeah. So, of course, there's a different debate on if Vanderbilt is even a road game.
Yeah.
Tennessee. But just that, and again, it wasn't as seamless because they had the sack fumble afterwards, and it was 3rd and 17. You're kind of just running a give-up play to punt and play field position, and you get a 52-yard run out of it. So, but that moment was really big, and I think my takeaway watching this defense tonight, and they weren't perfect. They gave up the long run to Lagway and gave up the long touchdown there in the fourth quarter. My takeaway is it's probably about what they wanted or expected going into the season.
Right.
It seemed like tonight they were in pretty good position more often than not. Guys were making plays in the open field. The coverage was probably as good as it's been all season. Florida doesn't have all of its receivers. Obviously, DJ Lagway has regressed, but this is a guy that, it wasn't that long ago that this offense took it to Texas.
Right.
I mean, they were that's a really good Texas defense. I know they gave up a bunch of yards to Arkansas today, but this is an offense that is capable of more than what they've been doing, which is why they have a coaching search right now. So,
like you said, they let it all miss in the fourth quarter.
Right, but they had 1 yard in the first quarter on 6 plays. Yeah. They had 110 yards at half, and they only finished with 261. So, I mean, Tennessee's defense is, people will say that, like, okay, they've been playing better down the stretch. I still think the second half against Oklahoma was pretty crappy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's a 3-game thing, and
Right.
New Mexico State is New Mexico State, but still really good defensive showing tonight by this group.
Yeah, and they've cleaned up some things overall. This certainly goes to the offense as much as the defense, but the penalties is a really underplayed storyline. That's been a 3-game trend now. I think 10 penalties combined in the last 3 games, something like that. So really noticeable improvement there. But yeah, I think they're maybe playing just kind of more within themselves. I would be interested to know if they've streamlined some things or done anything to maybe simplify things a little bit for players. But it seems like we're seeing fewer situations where guys are just busting and just completely out of position, and fewer missed tackles. I would say we're still seeing some of those. There were
Heupel tonight was like, yeah, we tackled extremely well, and then he was kind of pausing. It's like, well, if I go back and watch the tape, there's going to be some I don't like.
He remembered on the spot. I think there were a couple that he was mad about, but yeah. But overall, I think they're tackling better, and I think and Josh Heupel kind of touched on this in his post-game comments too. I think having Arion Carter back out there closer to 100% was a big deal for this defense. Not just the ability to adjust and make sure players are lined up, because you've got Jeremiah T-Lander's pretty good at that too, I think. But just he's the unquestioned leader of this defense. And he can sort of relay things as well as anybody in that defense to the coaches on the sideline between series and help them adjust, let them know what he's seeing and hearing out there. And I think all that's a big deal for Tennessee to have him out there on a more full-time basis. So that was a big deal, I think, to get him back and more of a closer to a normal role at least. And like you said, I thought he played a lot better too, and that makes a difference for this defense. So they're not perfect. They're still a very flawed team and flawed defense overall probably, but they played much more like, as you said, the version of themselves that they expected to be at the start of the season.
Yeah, we have a comment on our YouTube page. We appreciate your cousin Eugene for being up late with us. He says we're going to have to get on the Cover 3 guys. It's another of our CBS podcasts with Bud Elliott, Danny Cannell, and some other guys. They didn't even cover the game in their breakdown. I know Tennessee is one of the biggest fan bases that watches the show. Well, you guys got us. We'll take care of you. Yeah. So, yeah, and just kind of wrapping this up because we got to get back on the road to somewhere where we're going. I just there's been a lot of stuff happen in this stadium, and so I think for Tennessee to come out here and handle the business the way it did, really impressive. I mean, they're down, but
you got the governor of Florida calling it rock bottom to lose to Tennessee.
Well, but that's the thing though. Like when you have a rival in this kind of state, you got to kick them while they're down.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think Florida has done this to you? I don't know how many times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think Florida took, Urban Meyer was here tonight. You think his teams took it easy on Tennessee?
Well, that's why I think fans were angry about the way
they wanted 50.
They wanted 45 to 11, not 31 to 11. So I get it, but at the same time, you're playing to win the game and not let them back in it. So I got no problem with playing for the 20-point win.
It was 31-0 at halftime. You
Right.
emptied the stadium. Once they did Tom Petty at the end of the third quarter, everybody was out of here.
Yeah.
The only entertaining part, that they had the shirtless horde in the crowd up there.
That was fun. I don't know what that was about. Were they explaining that on TV?
Well, that's been like a season-long thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it started at Oklahoma State because their season went immediately down the crapper.
Yeah.
But everybody's doing it now. I don't know that it's just a home crowd for a bad team or a bad ball. I don't know if that's the only context. But I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Like your opponent, you got to humiliate your rival. That's what this is.
And of course, fittingly, Tennessee finally snaps this streak just in time for Florida to come off the yearly schedule.
Right.
You won't come back here for 4 years.
Yeah, but you get to talk trash for 2 years. Then you can say, hey, last time we played you guys, we put.
Or is it 4 years? Will it be 20?
Well, no, they'll play in 27 in Knoxville, and then they'll play here in 29, and then we'll see. But yeah, for your, if you got Florida fans that are your friends out there, first of all, what are you doing? Just kidding. Secondly, you can just show them pictures of video of Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews carrying around a little stuffed alligator. There were down by the tunnel that the team went in after the game. There were a lot of belts out. Little belt 2A was what this game was. So, and this sets up Tennessee. Now they got to go do it again, Ryan, because and I was talking about this on our No Huddle with Ben McKee. It sounded like Tennessee used some motivational tactics to ensure that they were locked in for this game. And I'd imagine they will be doing that again to get ready for Vanderbilt, because they have some motivational material.
They do.
So, and that's the hard part of this sport, right? Is to get a performance like this consistently.
Yeah.
And it's tough to do. But if you're Tennessee, we've talked about this a lot since the Oklahoma loss. Like, things look so much different in the offseason moving forward if you're able to win these two games.
Yeah.
Now, a few months from now, we might wonder, if Tennessee could have beaten Oklahoma, or if Max Gilbert makes the kick against Georgia. Hey, a dominant win at Florida is a step towards the college football playoff.
And by the way, there was some gnashing of teeth over Max Gilbert missing a 50-yarder tonight, but story for another day, I guess.
Yeah. That's, I don't know what it is. We'll talk about that another time.
Kickers that's a different level of scrutiny, honestly.
Yeah.
Right up there with quarterback in some ways.
Tennessee had 35 minutes possession. There's a graphic down there.
Yeah.
The coach's booth we're looking at. So
that's pretty rare.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like, like I was saying, we've talked so much about this offseason and this program, the direction, everything looking different if you finish 9-3 versus 7-5. 9-3, 8-4, I don't know. I still think, you would undo a lot of this goodwill from this win if you let Vanderbilt clinch a playoff spot on your home field. Although I don't know that I don't know it's as simple as winning in for Vanderbilt. They're going to need some help, it looks like, based on some of the rankings. But hey, if they go and win impressively against a top 20 team, maybe that vaults them over some teams that they need to vault over. But I also don't know that the SEC is going to get 6 teams in. But I mean, they for Tennessee to do that, for them to come out with the same edge, the same, wanting to make a statement intent. They've got material this week because they can just show the Netflix series of Diego Pavia saying "F them dudes" at Tennessee. But they're going to need to play with an edge because he threw for almost 500 yards today against Kentucky. So,
pretty impressive showing by Vanderbilt. That's the other side of this. Is Vanderbilt's obviously going to be plenty motivated to come into Tennessee. I mean, they've not won.
I think this is going to be. I was looking at this week. I think this is going to be the first ranked Tennessee Vanderbilt.
Oh wow. Ever. I didn't think about that.
But it makes sense because Vanderbilt has been terrible for most of the AP poll era.
Right.
And 1933 on.
And James Franklin, those years, Tennessee was down. So even if Vanderbilt was ever ranked in those years, Tennessee was not a very good team. So it's pretty wild that's going to be the situation. But yeah, hopefully it's a charged up, pissed off crowd and not a Thanksgiving playing Vanderbilt crowd like it usually has been. Because Vanderbilt's not good. It's already a sellout, and that's sometimes a hard game to sell out for that reason. Students go home, and fans aren't always motivated to go to sit out in sometimes 40-degree weather to watch this game. But there's a lot more on the line for both teams now, and for this rivalry, which hasn't, let's be honest, been much of one in football aside from the James Franklin years, really. It's good to have this kind of game because if Tennessee were to win this game, it could really stoke the fire for Vanderbilt fans. Vanderbilt, they may flip Jared Curtis, a 5-star quarterback. It looks like Clark Lee, is certainly looking to parlay this into more than just a one-year thing. They're certainly looking at this as an opportunity for them to put themselves on the stage nationally, obviously make the playoff if they can get some help. And if Tennessee stops that, my goodness, what kind of anger would there be directed at Tennessee from the Vanderbilt fan base to have all those years going through life thinking, because I've grown up around Vanderbilt fans. I'm from the mid-state. There's so much of that. It was almost self-loathing for years. Like, we are never going to win anything in football from some Vanderbilt fans. And for them to have this chance and for Tennessee to ruin it would be the most devastating way imaginable for this season to go down. So there's so much on the line. I bet there are some lifelong Vanderbilt fans who are just biting their nails already thinking about what that might be like if they lose this game in Neyland Stadium on next Saturday. So I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. And like you said, Diego Pavia having a lot of things to say about Tennessee just adds some fuel to the fire. I know for a fact they'll be discussing that in Tennessee's locker room this week. There's no way they will not be mentioning that on some level. They'll deny it all they want publicly if they get asked about it, but they're going to mention it. So, that's the flip side. We love it when players are candid, but that's the exact reason you don't want them to be candid if you're a coach, because this is the exact kind of thing that motivates the other team. And Tennessee's going to have plenty of things to point to, not to mention the fact that it's just fun to ruin people's season when you have a chance to, and Tennessee's got a chance to do that now to an in-state rival.
And the irony is that there's the whole Joey Aguilar put on the Diego Pavia lawsuit. And I did ask Joey Aguilar about that after the game. Like, hey, have your plans changed? Has your answer changed? Because we just talked to him about it, I think, Mexico State week.
Yeah.
And he was like, nope, same answer. I'm playing out this season, and we'll see what happens. So
I think that obviously lets you know, though. I mean, he's a plaintiff on the lawsuit. He's hoping to get that extra year if he can. He's not doing it just to say, maybe I want the option, and then still say no. Like, he's going to take it if he can get it. So clearly he's got his sights set on coming back. He just might not be putting all of his hope into that. That may be the difference. He may not be just counting on it going his way, but he clearly is interested in coming back.
Yeah, there will be another time to talk about that, and for what the ins and outs of that. There will be more time to talk about this Tennessee Vanderbilt game. But for tonight, for Sunday, man, some of y'all Tennessee fans, if y'all been down here and endured some of these losses and been here for some of those tough days here in this stadium, you deserve to have a night like this. So please go enjoy it. Don't do anything stupid, but enjoy it. Enjoy a butt kicking of Florida, which doesn't happen too often. We will have plenty of coverage.
Well,
you got what you got.
I was going to say, and just a big picture gripe here to fans, because throughout
Ryan's about to tell you how to feel.
No, throughout college football, though, because I think this is the problem. This game tonight was a reminder that college football shouldn't be. We make it all about the championship picture all the time. It shouldn't be just about that. And tonight it wasn't about that. And it was good to see 80,000 or so fans show up to a stadium like this for a game where neither team had anything championship related to play for. So forget the fact that Tennessee is going to be 9-3 at best and playing in the ReliaQuest Bowl at best. Like, that doesn't matter. You beat Florida for the first time in 22 years. I would suggest enjoying the crap out of it, because there were a lot of years you'd have been thrilled to be 9-3 and beating Florida, and you weren't.
Now, I have one person who is a diehard Tennessee fan, and she has been in the stadium a lot of times to see Tennessee lose in all matter of ways. So be like her and enjoy it. Enjoy this win, because it's rare. So, but like I said before, Ryan had his last little soapbox moment there. We will have plenty of coverage up on the site. We do already. We'll have more as we drive back to Knoxville on Sunday. Then we will get you into Vanderbilt week. We hope everybody has a great weekend. We appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. We'll talk to you guys here in a few days.